This is Phil Woolery with Purdue Extension with your Northwest Indiana Produce Update. And today we're going to be out at the Pinney Purdue Ag Center checking out some research and other projects going on there with vegetables.
Hi, I'm Liz Maynard. I'm with Purdue in the Department of Horticulture and Landscape Architecture at West Lafayette, but I'm based up in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I work as a vegetable extension specialist. When I'm doing applied research plots, I'm doing that out at Pinney Purdue Ag Center in Wanata, and that's where we are today. So what's right in front of me here are these cucumbers, and these cucumbers are for a project that's led by Dr. Laura Ingwell in entomology down at Purdue. And she is interested in looking at how to better manage two-spotted spider mites on cucumbers in high tunnels. And so these cucumbers we will be planting out hopefully next week in the high tunnels here at Pinney. And one part of the study is to look at different varieties, because some cucumber varieties we've noticed are more susceptible to spider mites than others. So that would be interesting to know. So in these flats there are 10 different varieties. It's a little bit hard to tell just by looking at them, except you can see here's a variety that's shorter than some of these taller varieties. Here's another shorter variety. Here's a variety that didn't come up very well, but it's also a little bit shorter here. So it'll be interesting to see which of these might be more susceptible to spider mites and which ones aren't. Those cucumbers on the other side of the bench there are also part of this two-spotted spider mite study. But that is all one variety, Corinto, and those will be planted in just one of the high tunnels, where they'll be looking at different miticides to see how well they control the spider mites, and so that's why. So we're just have one variety for that to make that uniform, and just use different products to see which ones control the spider mites the best. One thing another thing you can kind of see here is the difference in size between the two groups of cucumbers. Now some of that is because there are different varieties, but we do have Corinto over on this side as well. They were all planted at the same time a few weeks ago, but they're in two different growing media. So the ones farther from me there, those are in a germination media that has very little nutrients in it. It's basically just for starting plants. Then if you want them to grow more or have more nutrients, you have to fertilize them. We have just fertilized them once. The ones on this side are in a media that contains compost, and it has a higher nutrient level to start with, and so they've gotten larger and are bigger and darker green at this point. Okay, so here we've got a bunch more cucurbits, so things in the squash family, and these are for what we call a cucurbit downy mildew sentinel plot. And it's a sentinel plot because it's watching out for something, and it's watching out for downy mildew. Downy mildew is a disease that does not overwinter up here outside in the north. And so if we're going to get cucurbit downy mildew, it's because the spores have blown in from someplace warm, someplace in the south. Right now, I would imagine there's probably downy mildew down in the southeast. And as we get storms that blow in from there, the spores are so small they can get carried up into the air and blown, many miles. And eventually, as the disease moves up, it can some of the spores can fall out here and land on cucurbits and infect them with the disease. It's helpful for growers to know when that is happening, when the disease arrives here, because the management techniques for downy mildew, the fungicides that can be used, are a little bit different than what you would use for other diseases. And so it's good to know whether you need to use them or not. The project for this is managed by a group at North Carolina State. And so there are people across the eastern U.S. who plant out sentinel plots or otherwise observe fields for downy mildew and report to that group. And they post it on their website, and you can actually go there and look, and they'll have a forecast for where downy mildew has been reported. That's not a forecast. They'll have information on where it's been reported, and they'll have a forecast for where they expect it to show up or where there's a bigger likelihood of it showing up next, based on where the current disease is and what the weather is predicted to be like over the next week or so. So that's kind of interesting. Now we have quite a few different kinds of cucurbits here. And that's because downy mildew can affect all of the cucurbits that you see here, but there are some strains that only affect certain species and other strains that affect other species. So we put all of them out so that you can, will be able to tell which strain it is, which types of crops might be affected. So we have cucumbers. Here we have two cantaloupe. We have watermelon. We have three kinds of squash. We have acorn squash, and acorn squash is the same species as pumpkin. So if the downy mildew attacks acorn squash, it will also get on that jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. We have kaboka squash. That's like the same species as buttercup squash, and the giant Big Macs pumpkins are usually the same species as that. And then we have butternut squash, different species. And these will be planted out to the field in, this year they'll be planted out at one or more farms. Farms will have a small plot of them, and then we'll take a look at them every week during the season to see if that downy mildew has arrived. When it's arrived, we'll report it to our plant pathologist in Indiana, Dr. Dan Eagle, our vegetable pathologist, and he'll report it to the folks in North Carolina so that they can get it on their map and help with the forecasting where it might show up next. Seen a different disease that's also called mildew on cucurbits or pumpkins or squash that's called powdery mildew. That is something different. Powdery mildew is the one that looks like someone took talcum powder or powdered sugar and sprinkled it on the leaves, right? You see it on the top of the leaves. Downy mildew is different, and it will look like from the top of the leaf. On most of these crops, it looks like a little angular spot, maybe yellow or tan. And by angular, I mean it usually kind of is bounded, it'll go up to a vein and then stop. It'll be bounded by the vein when it's first starting out. So you might just see a little yellow triangle or square, something that's bounded by the veins. And it doesn't look like a whole lot when you first see it. But if you have weather like we have here today, only a lot warmer, if it's humid out and you turn that leaf over, there will be spores forming there. Spores form on the underside of the leaf. And they look, if you just look at them with your naked eye, they look like gray fuzz on the underside of the leaf, directly under where it's yellow or tan on top. Now, if you have a 10x lens, hand lens, which often I have one in my pocket. Can't remember if I put one in there today. You look through that 10x lens and you can actually see the spores. And if you like looking at things magnified, they look like almost like little trees with branches with footballs on the tips of the branches. It can be a little bit hard to see, but it's possible to see. And once you see those spores, then you know you have downy mildew. The spot alone could be something else, but if you see those spores, then you know it's downy mildew, and that's what we'll be looking for when we go out. I guess I'll say one more thing. When the disease downy mildew can move quite fast. If you have humid weather, it can move quite fast through the crop. And as it moves, the whole leaf will just be covered with, all the spots will merge together. They'll be covered, it'll turn tan, and it can look like it's been frosted once the whole leaf is killed. If it happens, the plant needs its leaves to make yield. So if you imagine something coming in and killing a good portion of the leaves, good portion of the leaf area, the plant just doesn't have enough energy to make yield, particularly if it comes in earlier in the season. I'll say we usually see downy mildew if we see it. Usually start seeing it, in my experience, end of July into August, sometimes middle of August or later. But it can be different every year. Sometimes it can overwinter in greenhouses. If there's a crop in the greenhouse over winter, and that can sometimes start early cycles of disease.